But somewhere along the line, you changed. You stopped being you. You let people stick a finger in your face and tell you you're no good. And when things got hard, you started looking for something to blame, like a big shadow. Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward.
Welcome back inside Booty.
And the beast.
See, we do it again 2 weeks in a row.
That's because you're always the starter.
It's because I am. I start. I just can't finish
initiate.
well. First episode was great. It was just me and you talking about your new venture into sports, nutrition, fitness full time from the nursing career. This episode's a little bit special. We actually got a chance to welcome in our actual coach, Adam Bisek. He came here. He was in, let's call it studio.
This room.
This room with us. What was your favorite part about the conversation with Adam?
I think it's just awesome to hear his perspective of, coaching in general. And I've loved being able to have the opportunity to have a discussion about, my personal, having the metabolism super low and not being able to cut at that time, and having his perspective on that was just great.
Yeah. Smart cat. Smart dude. I enjoyed talking about Tinder and things of that nature. Now, sadly, I forgot to hit record for the first 4 minutes of the show, which we talked about Tinder and hooking up, and I was like, damn, this is the world.
This is great.
I never got to live.
And then he looked at me and he's like, and the record button is not on.
Well, that's all right. We kind of circle back to it a little bit, but it's a good educational podcast, real life shit. How do you differentiate between coaches when picking one? What do you look for? What does he enjoy doing? And at the end of the day, the takeaway was, he enjoys helping people, and I think that's the whole point behind why we do what we do. And it was fun. So he'll be on the second half of the show. First half of the show, we're going to do what we did, what we're going to try to do. We're going to do a little Q&A with you from Instagram. We posted some questions out there for everybody to kind of respond back to. And we also have an awesome live taste review of the brand new Ghost Hydration, which showed up today. So this is going to be kiwi strawberry, and we have their lemon crush, which I am personally fucking excited for this product.
Very excited.
Why are you excited for the product?
Because I drink these electrolytes in different brands all the time. I literally have such a hard time drinking water, so these help get that water intake in.
Yeah,
So.
it helps you, right? It's kind of like why I drink aminos too. It's not because I need the branched chains or the essential amino acids. It's because it helps me get in more liquids. It tastes good. Drinking plain water all day, every day, fucking
boring.
sucks. It sucks. Before we hop into the Q&A, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button regardless of how you're listening. If it's on iTunes, Spotify, watching via YouTube, write us a review. Helps out the algorithm, so that way more people can find the Booty and the Beast podcast featuring D and myself. All right, so a couple different things here. Jordan Gibson, 24. How did you manage a regular lifting routine, or did you, during the newborn stage of parenting? I think this is a good question for both of us, because I think
definitely.
moms have to approach it quite a bit differently than dudes. I'll start. She was busy with baby. She handled the motherly duties. I offered help and did where I could. What the fuck are you shaking your shoulders for?
I shrugged my shoulders. I didn't shake anything.
You shrugged your shoulders like I didn't. Come on.
He helped to an extent, but when it comes down to it, I enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah, you wouldn't let me help.
And so, no, he offered, but I also know that he didn't love it. So I'm like, well, this
I don't
is my
love
time with
the
her.
newborn stage of a baby. I think it sucks.
Most
and that's
men
the shoot.
don't.
No,
Yeah,
it's,
I know.
they shit, they piss, they cry, they don't do anything fun. They sit there and they sleep for 14, 16, 20 hours a day.
Moms just have a different bond.
Sure.
And that's reality.
That's fine.
They were inside us for 9 months. So having them outside is just a different feeling.
For me, then, it's just my lifting stuff really didn't change. I woke up in the morning early. It was still 4 a.m. And even today, our first day as Buckeye Enterprises, we were still up at 4 a.m. We did our thing.
Yeah,
but yeah, my lifting routine didn't change. Here's my advice before I let Danny take over. I don't think you should use the newborn stage and infant and any child as an excuse to your shortcomings to live a better life through better health and nutrition. you make the time. You figure it out, right? Like if you have a partner, you can do two things. You can go to a gym that has childcare. There's a lot of them that do it now. Or you take turns and you trade off. You know, fortunately for us, we have a gym in our house. Now, I understand not everybody has that luxury. In fact, most people don't. So we're spoiled, which made it quite a bit easier for us.
Yeah, definitely. We could do it while she was sleeping. But first off, newborn stage is very broad, right? So like first 6 weeks, you can't really work out much as a woman. You know, you have postpartum, you're very restricted. Yes, I was okayed to start a little earlier than normal just because of my like background. I think at 3 weeks I was starting to do a few things, but you have pain. Like even when I got the okay, like you had to listen to your body so much. So
I had zero pain. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, but then once you get to, you know, that 6 week when you're like ready to all out go, it's not the same. Like you're distracted while you're working out. You have the monitor downstairs with us, you know, being in the same house with the gym. And it's just, you're constantly distracted thinking of baby, at least at the very beginning. Now it's better. I have an easier time getting through my workout without like constantly looking over at her and making sure she's good. But yeah, it's just figuring out a routine that works. That's the number one thing. I mean, everyone is going to have a different way to make it work. But I do believe that you can make it work, even if it is that like home workouts, you know, having baby downstairs with you while you're doing a video workout for 30 minutes. Like baby can figure out a way to get through that 30 minutes, whether it be in the rocker or jumper or whatever it is. Like you can make it work.
I think instead of calling it a regular workout routine, I think you should change your phrasing. It's going to be an irregular workout routine for a lot of people. Some days you might be in the morning early. Sometimes you might have to go outside, run around the block, get your cardio in, do stairs, whatever it might be. So I think the definition of regular, it's tough. For men, probably a little bit easier. For women, I mean, even when you started working out again, it wasn't regular. You didn't feel yourself. Your hormones were all across the place. So, but I mean, at the end of the day, you can't use it as a child as an excuse, although many people do. And I'd straight look them in the eyes and be like, that's not fair to yourself.
Even this morning, for example, like Charlotte woke up, hour earlier than she normally does.
Yeah.
And I went upstairs, got her, and brought her downstairs for the last, couple supersets that I had left. So you make it work. You figure it out. And although it's not as easy as it was before baby, it's definitely possible.
This question, I mean, this is super simple. John 15 Anderson, why do supplement companies put the scooper all the way at the bottom? They don't. Literally, it's the last step in the process. There's a person. A physical person, kind of like with our fit bars, who are dropping in a scooper. What happens is during shipping, it just gets rolled around in there. I mean, not every company has the ghost technology at the top of the container. Like when we open these for the taste test, there will be a scoop at the top because they have a lip system in there that they own the design patent on that, and which keeps to the top. Now that's cool. It's also an added expense. So most companies will be like, fuck that. These guys can dig. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it sucks. The worst is when you have to dig into like a 5-pound tub of protein.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you get your hand all full. But otherwise, it's like, whatever.
Not that big a deal.
Use a butter knife or something, All right, so Korean Boy. I like that. Korean Boy 817. Donating blood, health benefits. Danny is a nurse, so you can kind of talk about the health benefits of regular blood donations if you know of what they might be. I mean,
I know with your case,
yeah,
I think for the general population, there isn't a ton of benefits to donating blood. I mean, you're helping others, right? But I don't think there's like really a personal health benefit unless it's you who needs.
I need to.
Yeah, like
literally
required like every 8 weeks, I think is what.
Well, when you're on synthetic testosterone, I believe it's your red blood cells that increase in like hematocrit. Right,
yep,
which increases. So like there will be times where if I look like a fucking tomato, it's not because I'm sunburned. It's because I haven't given blood in a while, and quite frankly, I haven't given blood in a hot minute, and I need to. What you feel is like you feel yourself just, I don't know, like you feel different like when you haven't given blood in a while and you've been on TRT. So for me, it's like you got to do it to keep your hematocrit in line. Every 8 weeks, if you're on TRT, is the recommendation. It's probably been closer to 14, 15 for me at this point, which is not good. Which reminds me, I will make an appointment to do it next week. But again, it's not necessarily about you unless you're special like me. It's about them and helping other people. There is a blood shortage nationwide.
All the time. Yeah, there's constantly people needing blood when they're in the hospital. So, I mean, go do it.
Yeah, right. 2 more questions, and then we'll hop into this taste test here. Alpha Fit 86. What are some challenges you had when you started your Fit Butters brand? I don't. This is gonna sound conceiting and cocky and whatever. We didn't have a lot. I think the biggest challenge for us. I had a background in food, like marketing, so I understood the production. I understood. Trademarking, I understood label design, although I had to learn Adobe Illustrator in a night and figure it out. The biggest challenge, I think, for us was time management, because we were driving 2 hours to a commercial kitchen in Wisconsin, and I was missing time. We were missing time with our 3-year-old daughter. At the time, she was 1.5, 2, whatever it was, 1.5. So that, to me, was the biggest challenge. Like, okay, we can't keep doing this. We need to find a facility or something here locally where we can produce it. And we had a lease penned, ready to roll for a commercial kitchen here in Minneapolis. Thank goodness that fell through. And we stumbled into where we're at today. Now it's the challenge is our supply chain, just staying ahead of the plastics, protein that we use. I mean, think about it. We work with brands, like the brands you see on the table here. We work with them and their proteins, and either they've decided to cease production of that because the cost got too high, or you just can't find whey protein isolates. So we have to go through the brand to get to the production to get our protein. So, we're in an interesting place now. It's like, well, if the brand decides they're not going to run that flavor of protein again because maybe it's not a good seller or the margins aren't good, then we're fucked. So that's probably the biggest challenge. And then, people will say, well, why don't you move away from that model?
That's what makes us.
Yeah, it makes us different. It elevates our partners at Fitness Informant. It provides a level of transparency to the consumer, which is something that I believe people who give a shit about their health and wellness and fitness care about. Granted, that same person will drink a fucking Diet Coke. I do it, and that's a prop blend. But at the end of the day, I think for the most part, we want to know what we're consuming. But that was the biggest challenge that I saw. Did you have anything that was a challenge? I mean, juggling work and whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest part. Yeah, the time management and just, I think, honestly, and this, like you said, it's not luck by any means, but we were really blessed to kind of have things fall into place how they have, like everything kind of went in our favor, knock on wood. And we've been very fortunate to kind of fall into the places that we have thus far. Right.
Yeah.
So
last question here. Soul Performance Nutrition. They asked a question last week. Again, if you guys haven't seen or heard of this brand, you need to check them out. They have a great hydration formula, great greens formula. They have a new nighttime formula coming out, which is great. But what is something each of you now know that you wish you had knew back in the day? I think
so many things.
Well, what do you mean by back in the day? Like, I mean, I wish I knew how to speak to women back in those. I'm kidding. I mean, I got to speak to you.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's, I did a lot of stupid shit when I was a kid. Like, I mean, kid, college, post-college, I did a lot of dumb shit. And I wish I knew back then the implications of my actions would have on people. Because I was, to some, an asshole, to others, I don't know. I just wasn't a good person. I feel like I've vastly improved who I am as a human being since you and I have been together.
That's
for sure.
wisdom, right? Like, that's kind of what comes with age. I mean, I think almost anyone would tell you, I wish I could tell my younger self who didn't have the wisdom we have now, this and that, right? Like, there's always things that you learn through years of experience that you just can't know at that age. So.
A lot, man.
That's a very heavy question. There could be a lot of directions to go with that.
Yeah, I just wish I would have carried myself better. But I mean, here, and like we joke about it all the time. It's like, God, karma's going to get me someday. It's going to kick me right in the dick. But I hope over the last couple years of what I've done by leading by example, by being a good husband, by being a good father, I hope that whatever karma devils have been out there, they've kind of went to sleep and they'll leave me the fuck alone, because I would say I am a pretty genuinely nice, compassionate, caring human being at this point in my life.
I think that's the only person I've known.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine you being anyone different. But you
I've,
say it was because of me. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I had fun, and you had fun. We all had fun, and
we all had fun.
This is the most fun that I've ever had in my life, especially the last couple of years. And I know for those of you who are single listening to this, you're probably like, Jesus fucking Christ, turn it off. No, don't turn it off. Like, it is what it is. But let's transition into this. I can't wait any longer. So, the new Ghost Hydration. This formula has been teased for a while. In fact, I believe Dan, who's the CEO of Ghost, has been making this his own concoction for years. When he plays hockey, he would mix it up into a shaker cup, and essentially, like, they bottle it up in the hydration. It's coming out in hydration sticks, so it'll compete with Liquid IV, which is worth like $1 billion fucking dollars. Yep. So Lemon Crush, which is one of my favorite flavors that they have on the brand. Kiwi strawberry was good. I already have like pre-bias that this is going to be fucking bomb because I love it. So what we did here is we have ice cubes in our official shaker cups of Fitness Informant and Fit Butters, the ice shaker cup here. And we have 16 ounces of water. Now, the instructions say 10 to 12, so we're not going to do the entire thing of water in here. And watch her spill water on my mixing board. Just watch it. And then all of a sudden you guys...
gonna pull it off of the table.
And then you guys don't... Or watch me do it after I'm trying to talk shit.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. I like using a little bit less water because I like flavoring coming through. So this is a 16.9 ounce. I don't know if you can see that. That's what I'm going to leave left in the actual gimmick. I should probably put a top on that so I don't fuck it up. No, I'm excited. I'm excited for people to hear Adam. Like, I think it's going to be, I mean, for those, we get people that reach out to us quite often and ask, like, hey, do you have time to construct a custom workout plan? And
he's made fun of me for doing so.
The reason why is, like, when you do it for free, people give up. You have to charge people for it. But at the end of the day, like, I don't have fucking time to invest to do that because I'm so busy running these two brands that if you really want a quality program, a quality nutrition plan, like, you go to somebody like Adam who's going to give a shit about you. And it's not to say that I don't give a shit about you because I do, just in a different way. So I have strawberry kiwi. Again, I mentioned the scooper on top. Don't know if you can see that. Well, yours fell off. Well, I'll be damned. Mine's there. Blame Armada for that, which I'm excited about. Armada Nutrition is where Ghost gets manufactured. We are actually going to be traveling there in a month to Nashville, Tennessee, to give you guys. We're going to build a pre-workout from scratch so you can actually see like what it costs to do. All right, 1 scoop of Ghost Hydration with 12 to 14 ounces of water. I probably used about 12 ounces of water. Here's the formula, 1,500 milligrams of taurine, which helps regulate electrolytes. You have potassium citrate, magnesium citrate in terms of your electrolytes. Aquamin at 500 milligrams. You have sodium citrate as well. Pure Whey vitamin C, which is the most bioavailable form of vitamin C on the planet, 195 milligrams. Himalayan salt, buck 92 milligrams. And then Synactive for recovery from our friends over at New Live at a clinical dosage of 50 milligrams. So 1 scoop, and I'm going to have to switch hands here because I'm disabled at this point yet until Wednesday, and I get this baby off. Reach around. Yeah, speaking of reach around, I mean, would YouTube kick us off? Maybe. You probably could listen to it. You wouldn't hear much, but I mean, I'm pretty quiet. Why is that funny? I don't know. Oh man. Yeah, you're gonna hear it here. It's no holds barred. We are just gonna speak our minds on this podcast, and sometimes we'll say things that it's out there, and you're like, well, I can't get it back, and that's okay. All right, so I have kiwi strawberry.
And I have lemon crush.
She has lemon crush, my crush. All right. 1 sip. Y'all know the rules. I'm going to do, should we do each of them separately, or do you want to do just one at a time?
Let's do one at a time.
All right, let's do this kiwi strawberry.
That's you, right?
Yeah. I want to start with this one. Ghost Hydration, first ever live reaction of the flavoring. Kiwi strawberry, let's go. So if you've had kiwi strawberry before across the Ghost platform, I can't remember what products have it. So one thing I look for in hydration formulas is like the level of salt, because a lot of these will, like the Himalayan salt, you'll get some saltiness to it. So if you look at like Glax on Astrolite, a lot of salty flavor on it. I don't get a ton of it on this one.
No, it's really good. See, I was more excited about this one than
flavor?
the Lemon Crush. Yeah, definitely.
Good, because then that more for me.
Yeah, this one's great. I'm all about it.
I think it's a perfect balance of kiwi and strawberry.
Mm-hmm. It's
very good. Mm-hmm. It's refreshing. I'm just thinking like, if you can't see, but outside there's still like a foot of fucking snow on the ground. When it becomes warm here, this is the shit that I'm going to drink when I do lawn work and when I fucking walking around the house doing what I got to do. And this will make me drink more water, more liquid.
Definitely.
Which is great. Love it. It's high 8s for me in terms of flavoring. Yeah. Only because I'm not the biggest. The only strawberry profile that I like is their Bubblicious, which I love. And kiwi used to be my favorite fruit as a kid. This is good. This is very good.
Very good.
All right, let's go to Lemon Crush. This is the one that gets my nipples hard. So lemon, lime, lemon, citrus, that is my jam. So if you look at the label on Lemon Crush, it is a mix between two of my favorite flavor profiles, lemon and orange. So it's like an orange lemonade, and it's delicious. Mm-hmm. It's very good.
It's like a stronger flavor than I was expecting.
Yeah, it's got some tartness to it, a little
definitely.
bit.
Yeah, like back end. Like
both,
almost a little sour.
Both are very phenomenal. So
Yeah, very good.
we've had the pleasure of trying quite a bit of different like electrolyte hydration products. These are some of the best tasting ones because you're not getting the overwhelming slap in the face with salt, which I don't mind, but I get how some people don't want to be drinking salt water. These are flavorful, very good.
Yeah.
There's nothing really like it either. Like the lemon crush flavor to me is no other brand has a flavor close to it that I've had,
No, definitely not.
which I love. Good work, Ghost. Good work. I believe this
good.
is going to be dropping. I don't have the exact ETA. It's either going to be this week or next week. It's going to be coming soon. I think it's probably this week, honestly. So appreciate those guys sending it over. This is the first time that we've seen it here. We'll probably do an Instagram and a TikTok for you guys on that as well. That is going to, we're going to spend some time talking about gym etiquette. Maybe we'll save it for next week because our interview with Adam went like 40 minutes. And I think that we want to make sure we get it, that you guys have shit to do. And hopefully this podcast powers you through your work day or whatever it might be. But again, just listen to the podcast, absorb the information from somebody who gives a shit about other people, but
So
also
compassionate.
but
He's
also
just a nicest
struggles,
guy.
but also struggles himself, like a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, he'll admit it. He has some mental health issues.
I feel like people who have a lot of compassion also have a lot of feelings and emotions that a lot of times will kind of cause some of that.
It's weird that you like care so much about others, but then you're so hard on yourself.
Definitely.
How that works.
Yeah.
All right, fitnessinformant.com is the official website. Again, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, hit that subscribe button, write us a review. How about the algorithm? Until now, we're just going to pop it over to Adam, let him do his talk, and we'll fade into that conversation. Again, Adam Bisek, you can follow him on Instagram at BisekFit. Until next week, we'll see you then.
See you then, guys.
Let's go.
Let's go.
For the last 2 decades, we have been the best kept secret of the supplement industry. We've kept our heads down and worked. We pioneered full label transparency and full therapeutic doses because we believe that truly hard work requires truly effective tools. 2 decades is a long time to commit to one pursuit, but when you act with purpose and become centered in yourself, eventually you realize that you were born and bred for this. The things you once thought impossible, you now do every day. We don't like the easy way, it just doesn't feel right. We'll take the long, hard road over a shortcut any day. It takes longer, sure, but in the end, you know you earned it. And with the right team behind you, pushing yourself further than you've ever been would be just another afternoon doing what you love most.
Adding my product is going to help you get to where you want to be.
5%ers is 5% of the people in the world that are willing to do whatever it takes to reach their goals. We're talking about business, success, education, willing to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
you fly to Orlando, but then you have mentors, and two of your biggest mentors, Charles Poliquin and John Meadows, have been like two of the biggest mentors and people that you've looked up to in this space for a long time. They're no longer with us.
Yeah.
And so I'm interested in to hear how maybe you shifted your focus and the way that you personally approach nutrition and fitness for yourself based on those two, if anything at all.
Yeah, and I think I realized far before they passed away that some of the things we do in this industry, they're not probably great for us long term. And I think the impetus for me to actually change how I conduct myself when it comes to training and diet was just me breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
You know, getting to the real big boy status, you know, ripping my chest off, having this basically reconstructed, and then being limited from what I love to do. You know, it wasn't even about anymore like, I didn't give a shit about, well, I shouldn't say I didn't give a shit about what other people think, because that'd be a fucking lie. But it was more about it wasn't about what other people thought of me. It wasn't about competing. It was like, I love to do this shit. I love being in the gym. That's why I do what I do for a living. Yeah. And I couldn't do it anymore. And I realized I had to do something different in order to keep doing this for the rest of my life, because I'm going to do that. And I want it to be a little longer than like 50 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
So I mean, we have seen in the world of bodybuilding in the last 3 years, probably more young people pass away, whether it's diuretics, whether it's super sup usage, whether it's genetic issues. What do you think is going on in the sport, and what do we need to happen to make it healthier for all those involved?
Well, I think it would be remiss not to like note that there's simply more people doing it now. Mm-hmm. Like you look in the 90s, like it wasn't popular. Like people didn't like, first of all, there was no men's physique bikini. It was like you bodybuilt, whether you're a female, it wasn't even figure. It was a female, male. All you did was bodybuild. So there was less people involved in the sport, and more of those people like kind of fell into it by happenstance because they just look great. I mean, look at Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
Like he just looked amazing naturally, and he took 7th in Olympia before he even touched anything.
Right.
You know, so
and he's not gone, but the dude is living a pretty rough life at this point.
And I would say it's more of a function of his training style.
Yeah, fucking 800-pound squats in the reg.
Yeah. And so I think it's a numbers thing. I think more people are involved. I think because it is so popular, you know, like for you and I, like we look good, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not a good bodybuilder. Like
what makes you say that?
Because I just don't have like the look.
Sure.
There's the symmetry, the proportions. Like I can get big and nasty and lean, but you got to be pretty. And there's so many of these guys that play the game of being so fucking massive that you don't have a genetic predisposition to doing so. And so you have to literally and figuratively push the gas, like in order to get there. And then you look at, there's a multitude of different physiological systems here. You're looking at drug use. You're looking at like, which allows you to train more and push yourself more, which allows you to get to like obscene levels of low body fat. And all these things culminate to like, hey, you're not supposed to be able to do that.
Right.
And it stops working.
What's your formal education? And by formal education, like a lot of this is self-taught, having mentors, but on those serious compounds, because you're not going to undergrad and they're not going to educate you on AES of any sorts. Maybe they'll touch on it a little bit, but like when you need to familiarize yourself with them, because let's be real, as a trainer, if you're training anybody who is going to compete in the NPC, you're going to be suggestive or potentially recommending things of that nature. So how do you educate yourself on that?
Well, I first got into it when I actually gave myself secondary hypogonadism. Basically, I trained and dieted. So like I was 4.1 on the DEXA naturally. And I was just cool. I was just cruising like that. And we did a study at like my university had a DEXA scanner there. Yep. So we did it there. And like, this is the lowest we've ever registered on this machine. What are you doing? I'm like, this is what I do. You know, so I gave myself that, and I wrote it out for 6 months because the doctors wouldn't do anything because I was 21.
Yeah.
And of course I worked at a meathead gym, and you have access to stuff, and I'm the intellectual dude. So I just look up how do you hormone replacement therapy, and you could see that the information's there.
Right.
And so you do that. I'm like, well, I can get these things, even if it's black market, and do it. And so I did that for a couple of years before I actually stumbled upon a doctor who would do something about it.
Sure.
So now I can actually access that. But if anyone said they had formal education on most of the PEDs that are used in the sport, they'd be blowing smoke up your ass. Because the people that do aren't coaches. They're like, they have experience, and in theory, that's an understanding of how things work, but you're guessing if it's really what it is and how much is in there.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's all based on theory and practice, and trial and error. So there's no real, it's hard to say formal education with it. It's just a lot of trial and error, and you really have to watch what you do when it comes to helping people with this stuff. And it's like, okay, I can't tell you to take anything. I'm not going to, but if you do, this is the more like, because I'm always going to err on the side of being conservative.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? You have to be,
Especially a regional NPC fucking show. I mean, like,
well, and the reality is like, I make enough money. I don't need more clients. I don't need to blow smoke up your ass until you're going to be Mr. Olympia. If you aren't going to, I'll tell you, hey, this shit isn't worth it.
yeah.
You're going to end up like John. You're going to end up like Dallas, because you don't need this.
Yeah.
Like if you can't win a regional show on a like HRT dose, like here in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
just don't do it.
Right.
Just don't push it. There's no need.
Danny, from the hospital setting, when you were in, I mean, they don't, what any education, anything on that? You worked in a cardiac unit, which is where you'd probably see quite a different.
A majority of the cases that we saw that had like steroid use in any way were patients who had heart failure. And that was like years and years ago. And I remember one of them actually being like a Los guy. Like it was so weird. But he was like, 20, 30 years ago in the gym and dealing steroids, and was very open about it to me. And he was like, well, now I'm here. And he had heart failure, and he was in the hospital, with extra water weight trying to get the, and it was just crazy. So I don't think we ever really see a very formal education base in the hospital. Like every time you mention steroid use, it doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter, specifics in any way, the doctors instantly say heart failure or like heart issues, and that's all they
And that's
care
a
about.
fucking issue. Like that should be a problem, only because like these were developed for like AIDS patients, right? Like people who had muscle wasting diseases of sorts. I mean, there is a lot of benefits to HRT, to testosterone. Sure, there are some compounds out there that were probably never developed for humans. I mean, whatever. But
That's true.
you're right. I mean, those do exist. But the ones that were developed for the muscle wasting, I don't, for the longest time, it was taboo. Now kind of TRT and HRT is becoming more normalized, which is great. I think men in, mid-30, like our age, it changed my life. I know it changed your life.
100%.
What's it going to take, do you think? I mean, is it more of us just being open about our TRT usage to get others to recognize? Because there's a generic endocrinologist who deals in diabetic care, and if you register at 300 on your test levels, you should be on HRT. In my opinion, they're going to say no.
Yeah, that part I don't get. I don't think you're ever going to get someone in the medical field that's going to be cool with like super physiological doses of any compounds.
Sure.
Especially if it's like Trenbolone or Equipoise or Winstrol, things that are like they're veterinary drugs.
Right.
But there needs to be a change in the lens in which they look through treating someone who they have an actual endocrine issue.
Right.
There's a dysfunction, and however you approach that, it's just like it is so taboo to supplement testosterone when you look at steroid hormones. Estrogen's a steroid hormone, and we give that quite readily.
The 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you understand it at that level, that's exactly what that is. But there's this connotation of excess use, and with all of this stuff, the devil's in the dosage. Really, the devil's in the dosage, and the length of time it's done. Right. Because
it's no different than drinking. If you binge drink every night for
100%.
years, your liver's going to fail. You're going to die.
Yeah. That's the reality, and that's why I said, like, if you're someone who has to take, there's a lack of education, and there's a lot of true meatheads that do this stuff that are just not smart individuals. They fit the stereotype, and those are the people that tend to run into issues because they more is better, but there are points of diminishing returns. We
talk about addiction, and for me, I've had this conversation with others before. Are steroids addictive? I think like it's not addictive like nicotine, but I think mentally it can be addicting, right? Because there are times where I've been using them. It's like, if I come off, I'm going to get small.
There's a difference between physiological and psychological dependence on something. Like if you're taking a benzo, like if you're taking Xanax, you're going to acquire a physiological dependency on that. When you come off, you're going to have physiological ramifications and psychological. But with testosterone, or any PED, like any anabolic steroid, it's going to be more, almost all exclusively psychological, because I know the benefits they confer to me when I take them, and I know what happens when I don't. And it's like, I love feeling that. I don't like what it feels like not doing that.
Right.
And that's it. You know?
This, our space is just a mental clusterfuck at times. Yeah. And I know you've struggled with your own mental health and depression.
Struggled, like past
Struggles
tense?
Currently. I mean, I think we all do to an extent, right? Like there's there's body dysmorphia that she has literally still every
Almost
single
every
day.
woman in this field,
But I mean, it's beyond that. How do you cope with the stuff that you go through? I mean, is it, you laugh about it. I mean, are you on pharmaceuticals? Is it like, okay, there we go. It might be giving away the answer. Cause I know the gym is a place of a release, stress reliever.
It's no longer this. It's like, it's more existential now in my career. Before it was like, I was extremely neurotic about my career and my body and narcissistic about it. And so my anxieties, if you will, were associated with that. Now it's more existential. Like, I'd like to have a life partner that's consistent and doesn't have her head up her ass. That would be nice.
Right.
And so it's more of that. I went through some sleep issues where like I have a little bit of PTSD with that now too. And so, there's some pharmaceutical intervention, some Xanax and stuff like that to manage. Cause most of my shit comes up at night, like before I go to bed. Day, I'm cool. I'm cool during the day. But
is it because you slow down before bed and it gives you time to think about that shit?
Well, yeah. And I think, like I said, there's PTSD with the insomnia stuff. So I'm like hyper vigilant before I go to bed. So I'm like, am I going to fall asleep? And this is going, cause I'm like, this is cool. I'm cool. Cause I'm talking to you guys.
Right.
Right. But when you got to sit with your thoughts, and I'm 35 and I'm living, like I'm a dog, that's cool, but I'm alone. And so it's that's what I deal with now more than anything.
Did you ever, you're an obsessive person in terms of like learning as much as you can. So like how much have you gone out and learned about these other interventions that you're using and like other ways that you can cope with what you're going through?
I don't really know if I've educated myself. I obviously have a therapist, which helps me manage it because you're more aware of the stuff. There's a lot of cognitive dissonance with it. It's like I just get myself into work every day. Cool, because I stay in that. But there's definitely some shit that I still need to face when it comes to being cool with just this. A lot of it stems from, and I know all this because I went through therapy when I was a child. I got the shit beat out of me when I didn't do things perfectly. And so I always felt like I wasn't enough. And again, this is something that was articulated through therapy to me. And so now you're subconsciously comfortable with that. And so I put myself in situations where I'm not enough or tell myself I'm not enough, and in order, and we do that in this, at least this is how it's articulated to me through my therapist, is we do that in an effort to, find the thing, like the wounds of our childhood so that we can somehow resolve it, and the reality is like, I'm not going to find that through a person. It's going to be me.
Does that impact your ability to have a relationship?
A successful one, probably,
sure.
Up until this point. What I was 25 versus 35 is a better man. And so at this point in time, it would be silly for me to say it doesn't impact that, but much less. Now it's just like, talked about the dating apps. It is a shit pool.
Yeah.
Like, it's real tough. That's why I got chicks that are 10 years younger than me that want to date me. Like, you really want to date me? Like, I couldn't theoretically be your dad, but like,
I found one 7 years younger than me.
That works. That works.
Maybe 10's a bit much.
We didn't find each other on the dating apps,
no,
and so it's a little different.
I'm glad we didn't, because I thought for a second there when some people listening and watching, like Adam helped me through a pretty tough time before you and I. He knew about that I was in love with this fucking girl, but there was a period of my life where I thought she wasn't going to be a reality. And I was like, what in the fuck am I going to do? So I thought dating apps were going to be like a legit thing in my life.
Scary.
It would have been a shit show.
Scary.
It would have been bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've had zero luck? I mean, okay, well, that depends on the definition of
define
luck.
luck,
Yeah. I mean, we all can talk about getting ass, and I'm sure it works well for that. But like,
Like, here's the thing. Like, I look better in person than I do in photos. So, like,
it's like the guy at Country Fest who said you look better in real life on Instagram.
I was told that. He was like, wow, you look so much better in
asshole.
person than on Ryan's Instagram. I'm like, wow, okay.
I guess I gotta
Ryan,
pick
I have to put makeup
more
on
flattering
every time
pictures.
before you take
Yeah.
a picture of me for now.
So you, but then here's the thing: if a girl right swipes and you show up at a restaurant, she'd be like, "Holy shit, I hit the jackpot."
that's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm out here.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm here. But yeah, like, it's, you're swiping through and it's filters this and that. And like, I got 150 women and within 20 miles of me that swiped whatever on my profile. I'm like, and none of them.
Yeah. But, I mean, you're
deflating.
Here's what I'm not going to say it's a bad thing, but you work in a pretty prominent area of Minneapolis, like a affluent area, a good gym with people coming in who are successful, young professionals, some good-looking people. I guarantee you those women think you're attractive.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an attractive guy.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So like,
I hate when he puts me in weird
well, I mean,
situations.
you are an attractive guy.
Yeah.
How come you don't find somebody at the gym?
The problem is I do.
Okay. And then if it goes sideways, it's awkward.
Then it's really awkward.
Well, I'm working all the time, right?
Yeah.
So it tends to be women that want to like work with me, and then there's like a kind of a like thin line you got there.
Yeah,
or it's my buddies who does the same thing for a living, his clients, which that was a shit show. It has been a shit show, plural.
Sure.
Here's the thing, like, I want somebody who is interested in being healthy and at least has like a want for what we do, from like just be healthy, exercise, so they can empathize. Last thing I want is someone who competes anymore.
Yeah.
I just don't like, even, and it's not to say that everyone who competes is like mentally not there, but when you're going through that process, you're not present, and you're also not, I mean, by and large, you're not good with this, and that's kind of a predisposition you have to the fact that you want to be in front of 7 people who tell you how good you look versus that person, because you're not doing it for money. No, you're not doing it for money. You're losing money on this, even if you are professional.
100%, yeah.
And so it's not going to be someone like that.
Right.
And it's tough because I have a lot of those that are good-looking gals that would like to,
I mean, are the majority of your female clients coming to you are competitors? That are say like our age-ish, I mean, dating material. Because I know you obviously have some elders and some people really trying to make life changes, and it's motivating as fuck to see. But
not as many anymore, because once like, and this kind of happens in our space, was especially with personal training, you get kind of legacy clients where it's like, yep, I've got my people who are affluent who just economy for accountability. Coaching clients, kind of the same thing. Like, I have a really high retention rate. Yeah. Like, my acquisition is horseshit. Like, but because I don't market, because I'm literally in my business constantly working with clients. Like, you wouldn't even know that if you look at my Instagram page, but I'm constantly working with people. So that's like, I'm going to spend, like, this has immediate ROI for me. So I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to be doing the other stuff. Right. Especially when all you care about is my ass anyway. Yeah. So I'm not going to make content that makes, learn anything. Right.
Does it inspire, motivate you to see someone like your buddy Dave, who got to go to the Olympia last year with an athlete, which we saw them down there. It was really cool cool for us. And we're not close to Dave like you are. But it was unique and neat to see him there and her there and to be able to walk across that stage. How was that for you?
Awesome. I mean, because he's one of my best friends in the world. And so for him, it's like he's like him and my big brother, my buddy Tim, are like they like the competing scene. And so it's a big deal to him. And I knew it was and he's been working with her for a while. And to get there was like, that's the thing. So I'm so happy for him. Right. Like for me, I like personally with the clients, like I would be happy only for the fact that they're happy. Sure. Like, I don't care about that. Like, cause frankly, I don't want to be in the sport that much anyways. So I don't really care about the accolades that come from that. I care more about like, Mary Muffin Top is now not Mary Muffin Top anymore. And she's like in shape and she's happy and is self-confident and like has a positive impact on her life. Because the thing is, when you deal with an athlete, these are the people that make the most physical change of all of your clients, the most radical, massive change, and look the best. But they're oftentimes the most distraught and unhappy, because what inevitably happens is they step on stage and they're compared against other people. So it's not even about the physical change they made. Right. It's about their placing. And so when I work with them, it's like you're upset even though they look fucking amazing that they got second, that they didn't win. You know, whereas like a Gen Pop person who literally had changed their life, they gain self-confidence, they look better, they're healthier, they live 10, 15 years longer. Like that to me, like that actually helped that person, you know, in their quality of life. That's more gratifying to me. And it's less of a fucking headache. Yeah. Because, dude, it's like you when you work with people, you ride their emotions with them. And I don't think they realize that. You know, and so when you're upset that you're up a pound on the scale on Wednesday and you're crying to me, and then the next day you are happy because you're down a pound, I rode that roller coaster with you.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, man.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That's a real story right there.
Well, I get it because I've been
real.
there.
Yeah, because you're putting in so much work and then you're not seeing the results you expect, right? So and it is up and down day to day. Like I personally went through that even years later. Like I remember on prep, it's way different because you're putting in like every waking moment of your effort into that. But even now, like this is exact example. Yesterday I had a low. You know, I was like the lowest I could, and today I went back up, which is like not like a lot, like it was a pound. But yesterday I was literally on top of the world, and then today I'm just kind of like.
In like the thing that I work with people on, and the work has nothing to do with what the scale said, and everything to do with the emotional attachment to it and understanding what that actually means, because we have this association with, you know, the gravitational pull against our mass, right, which has nothing to do with the outcome we want. Which is how we look. Right. And so that's why I have people do multiple weights, is over time they start to accrue this ability to see like, hey, this doesn't really day to day mean that much. Because you go, well, I didn't gain a pound of anything or lose a pound of anything. I just shat more today. Yep. And so you start to become desensitized, and it takes time. Yeah. It takes time, but you start to become desensitized to it. Yeah. You know, and that's the work. That's the work I want to do with people, is to be good with that. Like not have that, and it takes time, but that emotional connection you have to the physical change you're assuming is happening, gone. And you're just good and you're happy. And that's the work I'd rather have. Like if you didn't have a 6-pack and you were happy versus us getting you a 6-pack and you're unhappy, I'd take the former for sure. You know, and so that's the work I like doing. Yeah. Because when you realize that, like that's everything. Right. Like, and you're good and you're happy.
So I guess my big question was, I remember back when I first worked with you and all I wanted to do was get back on stage. And I was at a point where my metabolism was not at a good place.
It was fucked.
It was terrible. So I remember being, I think I was maintaining at like 1,700 calories, right? Like nowhere near where I should be. And all I wanted, like I came to you as a client and I was like, I just want to cut. Like, let's do this. I'm all in. I'm ready to go. And I remember you distinctly having a conversation with me saying, you're not at a point that you can do that. Like, we need to work on your metabolism and getting to a good place. And I still, to this day, like, remember that. And when I have women come to me often, by the way, asking, like, I'm at this plateau. I am cutting my calories, and I'm seeing no results. Like, what's wrong? Yeah. And I guess my big question was, like, how often do you see that? And when did you, like, realize in your coaching, like, how that was a conversation you're going to have with people? Because I feel like some coaches would just be like, hey.
Like the coach that you had.
You know, like, and even if you're not in a good place, like, if that's what you want, we'll do it anyway. And I think that's what a lot of coaches do.
Well, it's a difficult decision to have with somebody. It's a confrontational,
right.
You know,
I mean, she's coming to you as a paying client saying, I want to lose fucking weight.
And that's what it is for people, is money. But the reality is that's not what, I do that already. I'm good there. Mine is making positive change and doing the right thing in difficult situations. And this is a really fucking hard topic to have people, because I can see you're emotional when you talk about it, because you were. And I remember that. And everyone who is there is, you know, the hard part is, like, we get caught up in this industry with having to look a certain way, and we're so microscopic with what we do on a day-to-day basis, we don't zoom out and see what the fuck we're doing.
Right.
And the reality is, and this is, you know, I could always go into like the nuance and depth of how to actually quantify this for people to know if you need to go in this direction with calories or that direction. But I see it so much. I see it so much because people want to continue to get leaner. They do diet after diet. They do show after show. And there's no realization that you need to take time off. And it's a hard thing for me to tell them. You know, because I've had people say, okay, and then go to other people that fuck them up even more.
Yep.
And it sucks, but, you know, all I can do is offer up my opinion and my help with it. But it happens a ton. It happens all the time. And I think it's probably, it was a handful of years ago where I really kind of made that transition to doing that, not because of lack of integrity before that point, but because of lack of understanding. Like conceptually didn't understand it until probably 5 years ago. You know, that, hey, well, if this person cannot maintain weight at the calories that they should, telling them to go in the other direction, go into a quote unquote diet through deficit is really imprudent for me to do. Because all I'm going to be doing is kicking the fucking can down the road with this issue and deferring it to a later time. Because that's what I asked people. I said, if you do that, you realize it's going to be real shit if we do it down here. So if like do it 6, because everyone says, well, they'll say, well, how about I do it after this? I go, after? You're going to be even more fucked up, and to the point where you may not be able to do it after, and you have to use pharmaceuticals, you know, and then it's like 2 years. Like I've had people that I've done it with and they got their period after a year, 18 months. Like it takes a long time. You know,
you often see that correlated with like hormones.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
right. That's kind of where it stems.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, that's what it is. It's this dysregulation of physiological systems that really are governed by hormones, right? Whether it's thyroid hormones, whether it's sex hormones, those, like when you are failing to thrive, your body doesn't care about how you look. Or, you know, non-critical functions like reproduction. So it shuts them down. It just wants you to survive.
Yep.
And so that's what we're playing with. You know, so you have to put yourself, and it sounds cheesy, you have to do the shit that makes you healthy. You know?
So on like a general scale, how long do you feel like women take to get to a back like normal state?
Well, if I gave you a finite number, I'd be blowing smoke up your ass. But it of course depends on the level of severity.
Right.
That's
you know,
true.
How far off are you? How long did you, you know, diet, quote unquote diet for, which is just denoted by decreasing calories that you consume and increasing your activity. How long did you do it for? How much? Like to what end? Were you doing 60 minutes a day of cardio? You know? You're not doing that.
No, fuck no. At all. Like, and I never will. I mean, when we first started prep, our first prep, which was awesome, we didn't even do cardio. Yeah. Like we just measured my resting heart rate, and if we were going to incorporate cardio, it was because that was getting too high.
Yeah.
And I think you do a good job of explaining on your Instagram and to other people, like you should never do cardio for strictly weight loss. It is for heart health and cardiovascular health.
Yeah. Well, and what I think people get in this is a part of the problem, is people look at activity for what the benefits it confers insofar as how many calories it burns. That's not why we exercise. It'd be like when you know, football practice. Do they go out there to burn calories? No, they go out there to get better at the skills, so they adapt and get better at the sport.
Right.
Right. So you lift weights to build or maintain muscle, develop muscle, right? But you burn calories too.
Yes, you do.
So why is cardio, or what I call conditioning, any different? You know, what are you using it as a tool for? Because, you know, if you look at how the body adapts, it can only do so much. And look at something like, let's just take, and this is an overgeneralization, but like steady state cardio, or like a low threshold, low heart rate aerobic work. And then you look at weight training. So those two different stresses or stimuli are going to tell the body to do something different.
Right.
They're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but they are not the same thing. This one is tissue positive, and for all intents and purposes, this is tissue negative, meaning it is inefficient for you to do this aerobic-based stuff if you have a lot of muscle. So what's your body going to do? It's probably going to pare down muscle tissue in an effort to be more economical and efficient in this activity. So if you're trying to look as good as possible, it's not that aerobic work is bad, because you need a certain amount of aerobic fitness and health to oxidize fat and recover from exercise. But that's what it's used for. And once you're there, denoted by like, what's your resting heart rate? What's your heart rate variability? You know, what is, and there's other things we can do, but that's the cursory stuff I look at.
Right.
Once we're there, why are we doing any more of it? You have to look at activity for the adaptation it confers you. Like, you have to look at it that way. Otherwise, you're just a fucking hamster on a wheel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so many people look at it, and that's why we get people who are doing 60 minutes of cardio a day, eating 1,000 calories, and they're fucked because their body became efficient. You know, it doesn't want to burn as many calories. It doesn't need to.
Yeah. You and it kind of reminds me of your prep a little bit, but then I start to think like, well, how the fuck does the coaches, like, how do they get the mentality? Like, that's the right thing to prescribe to their clients. And okay, they stepped on stage once, or they have an Instagram following. Like, I mean, the ones that actually, that's why. So Danny and I have had the opportunity of being with you twice now. We were with Matt Jansen, who is an Olympia winning coach, completely different coaching styles, completely different,
definitely.
both fantastic.
Yeah.
But like, even when it came to nutrition, you had me at like 190 grams of protein. He had me at 300 plus. I mean, just everything was night and day different. They both worked.
Yeah.
That's I think the art of coaching and some of their theories. But there are a lot of people out there that don't do continuing education. They maybe, did an online course for a weekend and did a regional show and start coaching people.
Often.
A lot. Mm-hmm. The social media world and things like, I mean, does it frustrate you? Because like, it's just, I mean, you see, but not so much like, oh, look at this dumbass making money, but like, he is hurting people.
I have struggled with this constantly for years because it is really fucking frustrating. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to throw shade openly at people because it just makes me look like a fucking shitty person. And it doesn't help anything. So my effort is to put out good information, and that's all I can do.
Yep.
Because it happens. I mean, it's not even necessarily malevolent. Sometimes it's incompetence. Oftentimes it's incompetence.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, but you just don't know what the fuck you're doing. Like people don't know what they're doing. And that's kind of scary. Once, like, I remember there was a seminar I did in Atlanta a handful of years ago. And I left going, fuck, I don't know anything. And I go, wait a second. I'm like at the top of my field. These people shouldn't be allowed to tell people what to do. It's scary. Mm-hmm. I mean, it can be pretty simple. Mm-hmm. There's things that can, like basic personal training. Like you just got to do no harm. Yeah. That's it. I mean, really at a base level. But there's a lot of people that, from a coaching standpoint, especially when you go from personal, like in-person training, to an online practice, if you've never trained someone in person, how the fuck do you think you're going to train them online? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like that's a whole, like, you're here in 3 dimensions and I can cue you and be intentional, and you have cursory knowledge of like Jim Wendler's 5-3-1 program, right? But you like, that's it. Yep. And so it's extremely frustrating because you see so many people that come to me who are fucked up, and it's in part it is the incompetence of a lot of professionals, but it's on both parties. Like, okay, sorry, but the chick doing the fucking cool TikTok dance and booty shit, don't do her program or his program. Don't do their that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Right. Well, they probably don't. The guy that can articulate himself and tell you how to do it specific for you, even if he's not as cool or doesn't have as many followers, maybe listen to him. Mm-hmm. And so there's a bit of the burden to bear on the person who's putting themselves in that situation and opting into something that's complete bullshit. Right.
Well, I think the scary part too is like, you look at some of these, like Sanford Profile, for example. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember seeing some of the calories, like they're below 1,000 calories for, months and months and months, because these people are coming to see results, and the results are quick when you're eating that few calories. And then obviously after that, then what are they going to do, right? Like, you get done with the program, you lost the goal weight, whatever it may be, and then all of a sudden your metabolism, once again, even though this is apparently a medical associated dieting program with Sanford, obviously there's multiple. Of course it is. But like, that's my point, is like, it's not just these coaches online, right? No, like that's kind of like the general public idea of how to lose weight. It's just eat less
Or take a magic
and
pill.
lose that weight really quickly, and then what? You know, like they just don't have an after plan, but they just want to see the weight quickly be lost.
Yeah, and you can, like I tell people, you can get someone lean once. I can get you absolutely fucking gnarly shredded once. We just got to have you exercise more and eat less.
Yep.
But after you do that one time, it's real tough to do it again. You know, so you see this, like you have coaches, let's say arbitrary numbers, someone's like a coaching team has 200 people, right? And they post, 10, people constantly, like, look at all these transformations. 10 is a good amount, right? That's 5%, if I'm doing my math right, of their clientele that are successful. So it's real easy if you have a high amount of numbers. And we see that all the time. And all you have to do is get someone lean once, take a picture.
Yep.
Hey, look what I did. And, well, what's the after picture?
Right.
I'm dealing with the after is what I do behind the scenes.
Right.
How
long? When did you decide to take your? I mean, you've probably massaged your approach over the years, but
Definitely
one thing that Dana and I have talked about quite a bit is when we went with Jansen for a little bit, she would always come in. She's like, he's never told me good job. Like, and we love Matt, but he's always like, you can do this better. You can do that better.
It's different style of coaching.
You are like, you're doing great. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. They both. I mean, I think Matt's just like I'm going to breed winners. I don't know. Right. And
Well, he's also very elite.
Not
and
a bad
think
thing.
He's used to that like high level.
Well, he's elite because his clients have got him there.
Yeah,
that's not to say that you're not at all,
No,
right?
I
But
meant that, I don't mean it that way. I meant like bodybuilding elite.
But
like,
how do you choose to be compassionate, sympathetic, and encouraging versus like you need to get your ass in gear and do this?
And that's what Matt does necessitates that type of mentality of coaching. Right. That's why he works with people because if you want to be excellent, like the best in the world at something, it's going to be dysfunctional. And we need to fucking push you.
Right.
And that's why, look at the protein grams prescription.
Yep.
He deals with bodybuilders, a lot of them enhanced. And so that makes more sense in that context. So what he's doing is he's doing his fucking job, and he's doing a really good job with his target market, his demographic. I work more with like getting you so you can do that, have one of those, and be happy and look good for the rest of your life. And so he just has a different demographic he's working with. And so if I'm having, again, Mary Muffin Top, like who just wants to make a positive physical change and gain self-confidence, that's how I got to coach him. And that's also very true to who I am.
Sure.
A very agreeable, compassionate, at least I liken myself to being an agreeable, compassionate person. So it's just me being me.
But when do you turn it on? Like, for instance, when you and I are on a 30-plus week prep, and if we had, COVID not fucking happen, and if I was lacking 2 weeks out, would you have gotten on me?
Yeah. Well, here's how I package it. You're an adult. You're not doing this right. We need to do this better.
Okay. Yeah.
That's it. And so that's what I tell people. And it took me a while to be able to have crucial conversations, but just being open, being transparent, and telling people how it is. And doing it tactfully and kindly, because there's no reason to be malevolent or to be like an asshole with it. And I think the reason that I am not is because this thing is like the worst fucking thing in the world. Like I am an asshole to myself mentally. That's how I got to the level that I did with my own physique. And I never respond. Like when someone's like, come on, let's go, I get fucking pissed at them when I'm training. So I think just because of that, because I don't respond to that type of motivation, I just don't coach people that way. I tell that to people like in the beginning. I'm like, look, I ain't gonna yell at you. I'm not gonna yell at you when we coach. I'm gonna tell you how it is, but you're a fucking adult and you know when you're doing something wrong. And it's only gonna affect you because you're paying me and you're not getting the results.
Right.
That's it.
And we talked about this before, like your clients are a walking billboard for you. They're word of mouth, things of that nature. I mean, and you mentioned earlier your retention rate is through the roof.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because I'm, and this is honestly something that people ask me, like, what makes a good personal trainer? Being personable. Like I've seen some of the most formally educated, smart motherfuckers that just cannot train people because you got to talk to them for 60 minutes. Like if people, like, I don't care how good you are, if I can't tolerate being around you, I ain't coming back. And it's that I provide value. And, when you personal train people, I don't need 1,000 of them. You know, I train 30, 35 hours in person a week, and I'm good.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you feel like you're one of the most elite, best coaches, trainers on the planet?
No.
Why?
I think I'm in the 99th percentile, if I'm being completely honest. But it's not saying much because there's a lot of coaches out there. But I think it's because I do so much continuing education. I seek out these people. Like right now, I'm doing pre-script level 1. It's Jordan Shallow.
Okay.
Super fucking brilliant dude. Super cool dude. I seek out education in all these like avenues of what I do, because coaching involves supplementation. Obviously, we talk about PED use, understanding, diet, obviously training, and everything that coalesces into becoming a healthier, thriving person. There's so many things that are involved that I learn from people who are so far advanced in all these niches, and I go, I'm a fucking idiot. Like, as I go to these things, I'm like, they're brilliant. Like, I'm stupid. So I know what exists out there, and there's some really fucking brilliant people. Like, even Luke Lehman, who I've done a lot of work with in Muscle Nerds. Like, yeah. I always like, how the fuck is he not more popular? And it's because he doesn't care about that. Right. He cares about teaching people, and he doesn't give a fuck about, like, if he's super popular with it. He's, like, probably one of the most brilliant people in this sector that I've ever met. You know, and I'm like, how did more people don't know about him? You know, but there are so many people that are so brilliant in their given, like, niche that I know that I'm, there's a lot smarter people than I am.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, things are constantly changing, right? I mean, that's why you constantly educate yourself. But I mean, I think one of the things that you had talked quite a bit about was, like, you should, engage muscle protein synthesis every 3 hours with a protein-rich meal. And since then, that probably has maybe even changed slightly. Maybe it's still consistent. I don't know. But, I look at, like, BPAC and some of the stuff that he does in terms of angles and repetitions and resting. And it's like, it's complex. And then sometimes I think to myself, like, whatever happened to the Ronnie Coleman shit? Pick heavy shit up and set it down. But, like, I mean, it's so different now. Yeah. How do you it's impossible to keep up with it.
Well, I'll tell you this, like, the amount of skill that I have as a trainer and nutrition coach far exceeds what I need to use with people.
Sure.
Most of the time. I pursue those things so that one, because I'm passionate about, I fucking love learning. I love learning more than I love training people and teaching it. I love learning. It's just part of the learning process. So, I almost lost my train of thought there.
You said you love learning more than doing, because we were talking about, like, seeking out all these different things, but your level of training and knowledge on nutrition far exceeds what you actually need.
I just don't need to use that much with people. There's some special cases, like I've worked with people with cancer, which it's not my scope of practice to treat cancer, but, like, I understand the considerations that come from that, or there's particular indications where there's advanced things going on, like, helping someone figure out, oh, you have Hashimoto's. How did you know that? Well, it's pretty easy if you know the signs and symptoms, just have them tested. So there's complex cases that I have that I can use some of the skill, but I don't use it most often. I just love learning, But yeah, like, it's funny because you mentioned the BPAC thing and learning all of, like, this intentionality and biomechanics that come along with it. And it's like, it's really good to know. I love to know it, but let's circle back to Mary Muffintop. Does not need to know it.
Right.
She needs to be able to brace her abdominal wall while she does a push-up off a bar. It doesn't matter. She's not doing a hammer strength fucking inward angle press to, maximize the shortened position of the pack. It doesn't matter. And I think there's a sense of novelty to it for even the people who are in bodybuilding. It's like, oh, it's something new and cool. And I get that. And it gets them. And the good thing about it is it gets them motivated to train, and they enjoy it. That's the good part, because frankly, you probably don't fucking need to do it because you can't back squat in the first place properly. So you probably don't need to do those things. But if you love it and it keeps you in it and enjoying it, then by all means,
What's next after this for you? I mean, as we round out the podcast here, I mean, you're not going to personal train forever. No. Like, I mean, I look at, like, John Meadows, he's 55, I think, something like that, when he passed away. I mean, he still did some hands-on training and stuff. He obviously had a supplement company. He had his hands in it. Like, what do you want to do?
I want to continue to move in an area of education, to help people that do what I do now better, because then that has a larger impact.
So is it academia, like at a university? Okay.
Not a university necessarily, because I don't think that's where you're going to have the most
like
business
seminars
growth.
And things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know where that niche is, because again, like, I look at so many people are so brilliant. I'm like, well, I'm more of a generalist. Like I understand. And that's it. Maybe it's coaching people who just coaches general like me, you know, to be better at that. Because there's the scope of practice that I have, or at least have accrued through what I've learned, is far beyond what most people do, charge for it. And so that's what I love to do. I love to be in education and still working with people in a coaching capacity, probably still training at like the level that John did. Sure. Maybe like 2 people, just because he did it. He didn't charge for it, just for fun. Yeah. You know, for funsies. That's where I want to be. You know, even like my buddy Brett in San Diego, like he doesn't charge, at least when I met him last, he doesn't charge for training people in person because he has so many people online and it's marketing for him. Yeah. And he loves doing it. And he also has equipment now, a gym, and he's got a lot going on. And I always thought that you guys were going to do something together at some point. Yeah, we talked about it, and it would have been more in the capacity of me servicing his clients from a nutritional standpoint, because he did training. And there's a large, like, I mean, when I was talking to him at this point, I think he had like 480 like online training clients. Brilliant. So, he's a genius, though. So you think from a business standpoint, like there's a missed opportunity there. Yeah. But the hard part is like combining practices and who pays who, and it's like his friend, and so it just like doesn't work out. And I think he wanted me to actually like to mentor me and like teach with him. And I remember Mark Coles, my mentor at the time, he goes, "I know you love Brett, but you don't want to be his bitch." Yeah. I go, because I have this, you know, like people know me for my ass a lot, and it's like, I'm surprised that your ass doesn't have a hashtag or an Instagram account for itself. Trust me, people want it to have that. It's ridiculous. But it's like, at some point, I'm like, I don't think people like understand the level of skill that I have that can actually like impart a positive impact on their life. Yeah. And I get a bit jaded because it's like I have like people have access to me to learn for free, to like something that's actually going to help their life and help them, you know, in the pursuance of their goals. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I'd just rather opt into his ass. And that's kind of like, that's just what society, like that's what social media is now. It's like, okay, I'll play that game. Yeah. You know, because what inevitably happens is then more people get to my profile, and then more people see the content that's actually worthwhile, and I get coaching clients. I will say this as we finish this up. From a personal experience, you've been the absolute best coach that I've had. You know, we've been together 30 plus weeks, plus our new prep, which we're doing now with this injury, which we're going to bring, which will be interesting. But you're compassionate, you're educated, you're articulate, you're patient. And I think that's a huge trait that you have. And you're authentic. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, you don't pretend to be somebody that you're not, which helps both of us significantly. Yeah. So I wanted to say thank you for obviously taking time to work with us, work with me, specifically now with what's going on, and always shooting us straight, because I mean, that's what we do. And you know, people come to Fitness Performance like, hey, can you do me a plan? That's not what I do. Like I can train, I can eat right, but I can't coach that, teach that. It's not my specialty. It's not my expertise. So go to, want to do it. Go to Adam. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's just like
every woman that comes to me with questions, which I seem to get a lot of them, especially lately, is I'm always like, well, my coach is great, so just go on over to him. Well, like, I don't have, exactly. Well,
the hard part is like, you and I are kind of like the same. Yeah. We're kind of unapproachable seemingly at face value, but when you get to know us, like, we're teddy bears. Yeah, so like most people are going to, like, especially women, are going to come to you because you're more approachable for them. And so I get that. Yeah, you know, and again, it's like, I mean, she said it'd be great to get you know, personal training stuff. I was like, yeah, you should do it. And I did it only so I could understand the human anatomy more and how things particularly work. But I never had any intentions on training people. Mm-hmm. I'm just not good at that. That's you have a bigger degree of knowledge in that area, and I think that's what, you know, a lot of people probably would get that and be like, all right, let's make money. Yeah. To your point, I make enough money. We're good. What we do, like, I don't need to keep padding it and providing shitty information. So. I appreciate you coming on, doing this in person, which is great. So anybody out there that needs a reputable coach, I don't know how much bandwidth you have, but at Bisek Fit on Instagram, we'll get an Instagram handle for that ass. Yeah. So that way we can do that. You can like that, follow that, share that, save that, hit that, whatever you want to do. Can't hit it. Appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate you too, man. Thank you.